Hi guys, so you could be forgiven for thinking that the fishing industry has overcome the teething problems that were facing it at the beginning of the year, and we're a couple of months in now and everything seems to have resolved itself because, well, we don't hear much about it in the British media. So instead you actually have to go to foreign media to understand what the hell is going on. And this is a report that was carried out by Danish national news. I want to say thanks to Alan Firth for uploading these videos onto Twitter. You're going to hear from two men. Both of them are fishermen, and both of them voted for Brexit. The difference is that the first one you're going to hear from, he regrets his decision. He voted for it back in 2016, and now he wishes he had not. While the second fisherman you're going to hear from actually has a different opinion. So let's hear from the first one.
Do you think I'd have voted to leave if I'd known it was going to cost me another £80,000 a year? Well, of course not. Only a fool would have voted to go out, wouldn't he? Knowing that.
Do you feel like you were lied to?
Well, we were lied to. We were told that we were going to have free trade. We were not guaranteed we were going to get a 12-mile limit back, but we assumed with what we were reading and what we were being told that would be a case.
If you could go back to yourself in 2016 in June, when you're in that ballot box, you're about to vote leave and say something to yourself.
If I could go back?
Yeah, if you could go back and say something to yourself then, what would you say?
Don't be a fool. Stay in Europe. Why would you want to leave? Life has become, very difficult since we've left. And I don't see no happy ending at present. So yeah, I did get it wrong, and hands up. I admitted that I was wrong, and but I'm not an isolated case.
I think it takes a lot of courage to admit that you were wrong. So I have a certain amount of sympathy for this man, because he voted for something, he believed things would get better. He was convinced by Boris Johnson, Jacob Rees-Mogg, Nigel Farage in particular, that things would get better for fishermen. I think it's important to remember that there is a separation for what the fishermen do and what the fishermen sell on. So for them, the main issue was being able to catch fish. Can we catch more fish? And the likes of Jacob Rees-Mogg, Boris Johnson and Nigel Farage convinced them, yes, you'll be able to catch more fish. When they raised questions, I think, and this is not letting them off the hook, but I think many of them, when they asked the further on question of, well, are we going to be able to sell it? I think the response they received was, that's not your business. The fishing distributors will sort that out. And we've convinced them that, we've spoken to them and everything's going to be okay. So you just have to worry about catching fish. And once we leave the EU, you'll be able to catch as much fish as you want. So when somebody tells you that, I think there is a certain amount of hope connected with it. They don't expect the worst case scenario where they won't be able to sell their fish. They think that's someone else's problem. Their job is just to catch the fish. But this is where they are put back on the hook, where they're not let off the hook. This is your industry. You're making a big decision that's going to affect your industry. Surely you would read about it. You would find out what the hell is going to happen. Because you can't just believe what a politician tells you. We've known for years that politicians lie. Maybe more than years, decades, centuries even. The politicians lie. So you can't trust what they have to say. You have to listen to the experts. You have to listen to people who actually do the work when it comes to trade. And all of them, 99% of them, were saying it was a bad idea for the UK to leave the European Union. But these people, the fishermen, decided to listen to the snake oil salesman. They decided to listen to the man with the fancy suit who likes to travel up and down the country in a chauffeur-driven Range Rover, over someone who actually works in the industry and says this is going to create problems. Now I want to show you the other man who was interviewed, who believes that, well, he voted for it, but maybe it's not that bad of an idea.
It would have been good if we could have come out of Europe and had a fairer deal. That's all we wanted, was a bit of fairness, really. But that's not going to happen, I don't think, anyway. I think it's down to our government that's making it unfair for us. They could have made it fair while we were in Europe. I feel that they could have made it fair then, and they could make it fair now we're out, but they're still not willing to do that. So it's down to our government, really. Brexit is a good idea. It's a good idea to come out and be in control of our own destiny, really, as an industry. But that doesn't mean our government are going to be good to us when we come out, does it?
So Brexit was a good idea because it was about taking back control, in a sense, to be in control of our own destiny. I'm sorry, but this man is beyond help. He believed the rhetoric from the likes of Boris Johnson, Jacob Rees-Mogg and Nigel Farage. They told him, you will be free. You'll be free to do whatever you want. We'll be taking back control. And I think it follows on from what I said before, where these fishermen, they only cared about catching fish. They didn't care about selling the bloody fish. Their focus was, I need to catch more. The European Union have put in restrictions. Now, I'm not an expert on the common fisheries policy, but as far as I know, it's there to protect fishing stocks. And these fishermen wanted to fish more. In some cases, some of them just want to fish as much as possible, irrespective of the damage it's going to do. I'm not going to say who these people are. I'm not going to say this man is, because I don't know. But there are fishermen who just wanted to go out and fish as much as they can. And to hell with the consequences. And the common fisheries policy, to a certain extent, is there to stop that. So imagine someone comes along, and you're greedy, and someone comes along like Nigel Farage, who's a good speaker, and he tells you, look, if you vote for this, we're going to get out of that, and you'll be able to fish to your heart's content. And instead of taking the next step and asking, okay, but how are we going to sell this fish if we're outside the European Union? The response from the likes of Nigel Farage is, don't worry about that, that's not your concern. I've spoken to the distributors and they said everything would be okay. And I think we fall back to the same problem once again. You should have gotten informed. But in this case, you have somebody who still believes it's a good idea. This man is beyond hope, I'm sorry to say. He's beyond the pale because he still believes the lie. Now, it could be the case that he believes the lie because he's afraid to accept the truth. Deep inside him, he knows he's being conned. He knows that he's been sold down the river. And he knows that Nigel Farage is a charlatan and a crook. He's lied to him. But he's too afraid to admit it. And I understand that because maybe he has a lot riding on this. It's difficult to go back to your family and say, I'm sorry, we can't pay the bills because I voted to make us poorer. It's easier to blame someone else. It's easier to shift that responsibility onto the government, say that the government aren't doing their job, the government did a bad deal. But if you continue down this road, when the elections come the next time, it's more likely you're going to vote for Boris Johnson once again. I imagine he voted for Boris Johnson at the last election, and he'll vote for him again. So while I have sympathy for the first man who has admitted to his mistake, my sympathy does not exist for this second man, because how can we have sympathy for somebody who has made themselves poorer and still believes that they did the right job, the right thing? Let me know in the comments section, guys, what you think about all of this. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot. I want to say a big thank you to all of my patrons. You ensure that this channel continues to exist. I'm eternally grateful for all of your support. If you join Patreon, you will receive instant access to our Discord server, where we have both audio and video chats. You can chat with me and other patrons, where we discuss important and non-important issues. Becoming a patron per month costs about the same as a large coffee, so why not check it out?